Art Basel Paris 2025 was massive. Collectors from all over the world showed up, and some of the biggest names in art sold pieces for unbelievable prices. We're talking millions of dollars changing hands in just a few days. In this video, we'll go through the 12 most expensive artworks sold at the fair, the stories behind them, why they matter, and what makes people pay that much for paint, metal, or light. Before we begin, kindly hit the like and subscribe button, as this really helps support the channel. Now let's get into it. Matthew Wong's White Wave Black Sand from 2017 sold for $3,500,000 at Art Basel Paris 2025. The painting reads like a memory rendered in color. A white crest breaks against a dark shore, but it is not a literal seascape. The composition is small in scale yet vast in feeling. Wong built depth through layered pigment and delicate drawing, letting saturated swaths of color sit beside intimate calligraphic marks. The surface breathes. Light seems to come from inside the paint. Wong combined influences from Eastern ink traditions and Western color field painting to make images that feel at once ancient and immediate. This work is a perfect example. It balances lyricism and quiet urgency. The palette is restrained and surprising, the brushwork both disciplined and free, producing an image that is peaceful but haunted. The market response reflects more than beauty. Since the artist's death in 2019, collectors have treated Wong's canvases as rare, finite treasures. This painting arrived at the fair with blue-chip gallery backing and flawless condition, and museums were among the serious bidders. The price acknowledges the work's aesthetic power and its extreme scarcity. In purchasing White Wave Black Sand, the buyer secured a luminous, singular vision, a painting that holds memory and mood in equal measure and that rewards the kind of sustained-looking art was meant for. Georg Baselitz's Cowboy, a bronze cast dated 2024, sold for €3,500,000 at Art Basel Paris 2025. The sculpture stands like a paradox, a figure both monumental and intentionally awkward. The hat sits wide, the torso is compact, the limbs elongated and slightly askew. Surfaces are rough-hewn, fingerprints and tool marks left visible, so the object reads as both carved memory and deliberate artifice. It carries the weight of Baselitz's long career, folding familiar expressionist gestures into a compact modern form. Baselitz is widely known for disrupting pictorial traditions and for insisting on the body as a site of history and myth. In Cowboy, he translates those concerns into bronze, making a figure that reads like a folk emblem, remade through a critical European sensibility. The work is neither pastoral nor nostalgic. It is a modern myth, at once playful and serious, that rewards sustained looking. Collectors paid a premium because this is a new work by a living master, shown by a major gallery and accompanied by clear provenance. Institutions are actively acquiring recent sculptures by Baselitz, and private buyers value the chance to secure a museum-quality piece that also charts the artist's continuing experimentation. In short, Cowboy is a condensation of Baselitz's interests in gesture, distortion, and cultural memory, and its sale confirms his ongoing relevance in contemporary art. Agnes Martin's Children Playing, made in 1999, sold for $4,500,000 at Art Basel Paris 2025. This is a late work by an artist who spent her life insisting that simplicity contains depth. At first glance, the painting appears almost blank, a pale field crossed by a finely drawn graphite grid. But Martin's minimal gestures are everything. Each line is measured, each wash of color carefully tuned to make the surface hum. The painting asks you to slow down. It asks you to listen. Martin called her work an attempt to record beauty and innocence. Children Playing is not literal. The title is a key that unlocks a mood rather than a scene. The subtle shimmer of the ground and the soft geometry of the grid produce a calm that feels deliberate and almost devotional. Museums and collectors prize these late canvases because they are moments of clarity after long experiment. This painting is both fragile and resolute. Its value comes from the purity of intent, the rarity of major late works on the market, and the immaculate condition in which it arrived. In buying Children Playing, the collector acquired more than a canvas. They bought an object that compels slow looking and rewards repeat viewings. It is a quiet monument to attention, a work that redefines presence through restraint. In an age of noise, Agnes Martin reminds us that silence can be an artwork in itself. George Condo's Multicolored Female Composition from 2016 sold for $4,500,000 at Art Basel Paris 2025. This large oil on canvas is typical of Condo's artificial realism, a deliberate collision of classical technique and cartoon-like distortion. At first it reads as a portrait, then it opens up into a fractured field of faces and gestures, where eyes and mouths multiply and collide. The paint is applied with confidence, the brushwork both assured and mischievous, pulling traditional portrait language toward a modern psychological register. Condo borrows from old masters and from lowbrow imagery to make something that looks familiar and oddly new. The result is a work that feels witty and urgent, a study of identity as spectacle. This painting arrived at the fair with strong gallery backing and clean provenance, presented in museum-ready condition and at a scale that dominates a room. Collectors competed because Condo now sits at the intersection of critical recognition and market appetite. In acquiring this canvas, the buyer did not merely purchase an image, they bought a condensed history of painting refracted through one artist's sharp, satirical eye. Bruce Nauman's Masturbating Man, made in 1985, sold for $4,750,000 at Art Basel Paris 2025. This neon work presents a solitary human silhouette outlined in glowing glass tubes. The figure repeats a private act in a steady rhythm, and the flicker of light turns intimacy into spectacle. Nauman uses the language of signs to force a confrontation with what galleries usually avoid. The title leaves no doubt, and the effect is deliberately uncomfortable. Nauman's practice probes the limits of language, the body, and public display. Here, neon becomes both message and medium. The work is valued not for prettiness, but for its conceptual force, its ability to make viewers reflect on shame, visibility, and the politics of looking. Few neon pieces by Nauman come to market, and this example arrived with strong provenance and gallery backing. Institutions and collectors bid because it encapsulates a career of daring ideas and technical exactness. It is at once a provocation and a document, a neon testament to contemporary art's power to turn private acts into public thought experiments and persistent questions about what we accept to see. Alexander Calder's 8 Polygons, made in 1973, sold for $4,850,000 at Art Basel Paris 2025. This work is a confident statement of Calder's late practice. 8 flat painted aluminum planes suspended and arranged so they read as a single elegant construction. At first glance, it feels playful, like a mobile frozen in mid-motion, but the effect is the result of precise engineering and a refined sense of balance. Each polygon carries a color and an attitude, and together they compose a choreography of shape and shadow that changes with the viewer's position. Calder made sculpture that thinks like music, where rhythm and pause matter as much as form. In 8 polygons, the painted surface is integral. The matte finish and the crisp edges emphasize line and plane rather than volume, allowing light to become part of the work. Collectors prize pieces like this because they are rare on the market, museum-ready in scale and condition, and immediately legible across cultures. Provenance mattered here. Presented by a top gallery and coming from a respected private collection, the sculpture attracted institutional and private buyers who value Calder for his enduring clarity and joyous inventiveness. Paying $4,850,000 was, for the purchaser, a purchase of history and design intelligence. This is a Calder that continues to move, not only because it physically shifts, but because it refines how we see space, color, and the possibilities of abstraction. Alberto Burri's Sacco e Oro, painted in 1953, sold for €4,200,000 at Art Basel Paris 2025. This is a work from Burri's landmark Sacco series in which torn and stitched burlap becomes the subject of painting. Here, rough sackcloth is patched, scorched, and layered with gold leaf and wooden supports to create a surface that looks both wounded and strangely reverent. The burlap reads like skin, the gold reads like memory. Together they make a quiet, brutal hymn to material and to recovery. Burri turned the debris of the post-war world into a new language of abstraction. He did not mask the trauma, he transformed it into texture and form. Sacco e Oro stands as a testimony to that transformation. Its power is tactile. You do not look at it so much as feel it with your eyes. The work's condition, its clear place in Burri's early experimentations, and a strong provenance from a respected European collection made it especially rare on the market. Collectors value this painting for its historical importance and for the way it reshapes what we consider precious. It is at once a relic and a masterpiece of 20th century art. In paying €4,200,000, the buyer acquired a work that insists we remember the cost of rebuilding and the strange beauty that can follow. Martin Kippenberger's Untitled, painted in 1988, sold for $5 million at Art Basel Paris, 2025. This large acrylic canvas hits the viewer with a blunt, insistent energy. Thick, quick strokes and sudden swathes of color sit beside scratched-in graffiti, like marks and ironic slogans, as if the painting records a fight between impulse and idea. It is both confrontational and oddly playful, a work that refuses easy sympathy while demanding attention. Kippenberger made art that mocked the art world even as it fed it, and this painting comes from that exact impulse. Created during a crucial phase of his career, Untitled Sunrise displays his ability to mix raw expression with savvy cultural critique. The scale gives it presence in any room, and the surface records the artist's rapid improvisational gestures. Collectors value the piece because it is emblematic of his breakthrough moment, when German neo-expressionism and institutional critique collided. Provenance from a respected European collection, and the fact that few major Kippenbergers of this period appear on the market added pressure at the sale. Ruth Asawa's Untitled hanging sculpture, made around 1972, sold for $7.5 million at Art Basel Paris, 2025. The work is formed from copper and brass wire, hand-looped into a voluminous, cloud-like configuration that seems to float in the gallery air. Up close, the viewer sees a dense weave of small gestures. From a distance, the loops resolve into an airy, organic whole that changes with every shift of light and sight. Asawa developed this technique through patient repetition, turning humble metal into a porous, luminous skin. Her sculptures bridge craft and modernism, drawing on domestic making while addressing space in a truly modern way. This Untitled example is notable for its scale and presence. Few works of this size by Asawa appear on the market, and its provenance from a major private collection added to the urgency among buyers. The price reflects the convergence of rarity, historical re-evaluation, and institutional interest. More than a decorative object, this sculpture stands as a quiet manifesto of restraint, care, and inventive form. It confirms Asawa's place at the center of post-war American art. Collectors prized how its delicate mesh catches light and redefines space, a museum-quality object that rewards long-looking. Amedeo Modigliani's Jeune, fille or macarons, painted in 1918, sold for just under $10 million at Art Basel Paris 2025. This portrait of a young woman, with her calm expression and soft gaze, captures the elegance and melancholy that define Modigliani's art. Her elongated neck and oval face are instantly recognizable, trademarks of his distinctive style. The two circular buns in her hair, resembling French macarons, give the painting its name and add a touch of charm to its quiet beauty. This work was painted during the final years of Modigliani's short but extraordinary life in Paris, a period when he was creating his most iconic portraits. Beneath the simplicity lies a deep emotional tension. Modigliani never painted from vanity. He sought to reveal the soul of his subjects. Each brushstroke seems to vibrate with sensitivity and warmth, making the painting timeless. The high price reflects not only the rarity of Modigliani's works, but also their cultural and historical weight. Few of his paintings remain in private hands, and this one came from a distinguished European collection. For collectors, acquiring a Modigliani is like owning a fragment of early modern art history. intimate, poetic, and irreplaceable. Jeune, fille aux macarons stands as a quiet masterpiece, reminding us why Modigliani's portraits continue to move people more than a century after his death. Julie Mehretu's Charioteer from 2007 sold for $11.5 million at Art Basel Paris 2025, making it one of the fair's most talked about sales. This large-scale acrylic painting is a storm of color, line, and movement. Layers of marks and sweeping brushstrokes overlap with architectural forms and faint blueprints, creating a sense of motion that pulls the viewer into the canvas. The title, Charioteer, suggests speed and control, a battle between chaos and direction that reflects Mehretu's signature visual language. Her work often feels like a map of modern civilization, full of noise, energy, and the marks of human history. At a distance, it looks abstract, but up close you can see the traces of cities, streets, and gestures that suggest conflict and migration. This duality between order and disorder is what gives her paintings so much power. Collectors competed fiercely for Charioteer because works of this scale and intensity rarely appear for sale. Mehretu's reputation has grown worldwide, with her paintings hanging in major museums from New York to Paris. The price reflects not only her technical brilliance, but also the cultural relevance of her art, a commentary on our world in motion. Charioteer is a masterpiece of controlled chaos, a painting that captures the rhythm and restlessness of our time. Gerhard Richter's Abstraktes Bild from 1987 sold for an astonishing $23 million at Art Basel Paris 2025, making it the most expensive work at the fair. This painting is a perfect example of Richter's mastery of abstraction. Layers of color are dragged, blended, and scraped across the canvas, creating a glowing surface that feels alive and full of motion. It looks both random and deliberate at the same time. Every mark, every smear seems accidental, yet perfectly balanced. Richter painted this during one of the strongest periods of his career, when he had already perfected his technique of using a squeegee to build and erase layers of paint. The result is a visual language that captures emotion without showing figures or landscapes. It is pure feeling expressed through color and texture. The timing of the sale also mattered. Just before the fair, a major retrospective of Richter's work opened in Paris, reigniting interest among collectors. Combine that with the rarity of such large-scale work still in private hands, and competition was fierce. The buyer was not just purchasing paint on canvas, but a piece of modern art history. This painting represents the high point of post-war abstraction, a work that turns the chaos of paint into order, and proves why Richter remains one of the most influential painters alive today.